Hi, I'm Ed Bruce in Gainesville, Florida for the National Hot Rod Association's Gatornationals. We're going to be showing you special coverage of two very special classes, the top alcohol dragster and the top alcohol funny cars. You'll be seeing the fastest, loudest, smokingest cars come down that quarter-mile strip. And as a special treat, we're going to show you the coverage of the super gas cars, like this one here. Don't let the looks fool you. These cars may have bodies from the 50s and 60s and some even older, but they've got the engine performance of the 80s. Joining me and calling all the action today are two guys who know a lot about drag racing, Brock Yates and Steve Evans. Steve?
Thank you, Ed. This is the quickest accelerating type of racing vehicle we're going to be seeing here today in Gainesville, Florida. It's called a top alcohol dragster. The wheelbase is some 24 feet. The chassis is tubular steel, wrapped with a beautiful hand-formed magnesium body. The driver sits here safely encased in this steel roll cage. And behind the driver, more for safety than performance, is this huge fuel-injected, supercharged aluminum racing Hemi. We're talking well over 200 miles an hour in just 6 seconds. Brock?
Okay, Steve, you want to talk about big engines? How about this one? 500 cubic inches, 1,500 horsepower, an alcohol burner, and what we call a funny car. As opposed to your car, the engine's up front of the driver. Maybe a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more difficult to drive, perhaps. But the secret to a funny car is that it resembles, in some ways, an actual street car. This one, if you look closely, looks like a Pontiac Firebird. Well, let me tell you one thing. When you see this thing run on a quarter mile, it won't look like any Firebird you ever saw in your whole life. Wait till you see this baby go.
An overflow crowd is jammed into Gainesville Raceway here in north central Florida for the annual Gatornationals. Anytime we cover the Gatornationals, we expect lots of excitement. But qualifying earlier in the super gas category gave us a bit more drama than even we bargained for. Watch the car in the near lane, a little Chevrolet Vega driven by a 19-year-old youngster from Ohio named Mickey Thompson, named after the famed Speed King from California. Halfway down the racetrack, Thompson starts having problems. He tries to correct the car. He possibly overcorrects. Then his problems really start to multiply. Unbelievable. It seems that it's going to roll forever. You have to remember that inside that car is a driver. Seldom, if ever, has a drag racing vehicle taken this kind of punishment. 4.5 times it rolls, finally resting upon the guardrail. The good news is he walked away.
I just remember heading for the right guardrail and trying to turn it back. That's all I remember.
And remember it he will for a long, long time as we take another look at this incredible crash from a different angle. The people that write the rules of the National Hot Rod Association can be mighty proud of themselves. Their years of stressing safety have paid off as Mickey Thompson walks away a little stunned, but otherwise not a scratch on him. The sturdy steel roll cage inside that car doing its job.
Race cars are getting safer, Steve, and that's a good thing because when you're running over 200 miles an hour, as these top alcohol dragsters are, you really need every little bit of help you can get. First round action, Buddy Domingue of Groves, Texas, versus Donna McCarthy, Manchester, Connecticut, a young gal.
This is Buddy Domingue. He qualified number 5 at a 6.50 second elapsed time. Donna McCarthy is a 23-year-old student from Manchester, Connecticut. This is her first major competition.
Well, every time you see a gal climb into the cockpit of a rail dragster, you have to think about one name, and that's Shirley Muldowney, the great one, the great champion. And you wonder whether or not this little gal may be heading down the same road. Steve had a chance to talk with her earlier.
No, this is not Shirley Muldowney. This is Donna McCarthy, who's qualified in the quickest class we'll be seeing today, top alcohol dragsters. The first time you've ever qualified for a big race?
Yes, it is. We're very excited about it.
I bet you now you know how Shirley feels. There's 15 guys out here going after you.
That's right. Well, that's all right. When we're in the car, we're pretty much equal, I think. Sex really doesn't make any difference, I think, then.
I've heard that said.
Yeah.
When did you start all this?
Well, I started racing 4 years ago. I started in a stock GTO at Connecticut International Raceway, and then I went to an altered, and then to this. So this is my second season with this car.
Now, do you own this car, or?
No, I do not. Ron Zavarella owns it, a partner of mine.
Come here, Ron.
Ron.
How did you happen to pick this young lady to drive?
Well, it's a long story. We both come from the same town, and I've been racing just about all my life. You know, working my way through the ranks, and I got out of it for a couple of years to pursue other things, and then I met Donna, And we started going to the track to spectate, and she says, gee, you know, you ought to get back into this thing. So I did for, you know, maybe a season. Then I asked her if she wanted to go for her license, and she ran 2/10 quicker than me in my altered. So she says, okay, we'll build this car and hit the circuit again.
Okay, that's down in the far lane. Buddy Deming comes out first. She gets a little bit sideways about halfway down, and Buddy Deming takes the run, 6:48, 215 miles an hour.
Oh, Brock, Buddy Domingue just flat out horsepower Donna McCarthy. McCarthy got a little sideways, didn't cost her all that much time. Domingue is a former national champion. He really knows what this top alcohol dragster racing is all about. And here's another driver that's in that same league. This is Don Woosley, a past national champion. He's out of Winchester, Kentucky. He will be up against Jeff Jones of Edison, New Jersey. They have come from about 30 states here to the Gatornationals. So it'll be Woosley in the near lane. In the far lane will be Jeff Jones. Jones is a mechanic, as we said, from Edison, New Jersey. Qualified at 6.68 seconds in the number 12 spot. Woosley, also an auto mechanic, qualified a bit quicker at 6.47. So on paper here, Woosley would have the edge over Jones. But they don't run the race on paper. They run it on 1,320 feet of drag strip. So as Woosley and Jones get ready to stage, let's go down to the far end of the drag strip where Brock Yates is with Donna McCarthy.
Donna, good job.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of a hole shot on you, we understand, huh?
Yeah, he did. He's a good guy, though. I hope he goes on to do it, buddy.
Well, how'd it feel?
Felt good.
First time?
Yeah, it felt good. It was a fast run. It loosened up a little bit out there, but hung on to it. Wanted to go for it, but we'll get him next time.
Oh, yeah. Good job, Donna.
Thank you.
Super.
Well, no, that's the fastest run of my whole life.
Boy, now there's a lady with a great spirit. Donna McCarthy. She's a loser, but still smiling. So Jeff Jones will be in the far lane as he prepares to lower the shield down on his helmet. The blue car, the Jones brothers. In the tower lane, Don Woosley. Now, you can bet Jones is going to try to leave that starting line first. He needs a couple of tenths if he's going to compete with Woosley. Gets awfully close to the center line, maybe even touching it. Don Woosley will survive round number one with a 6.61 elapsed time at over 200 miles an hour.
So Woolsey heads on into the second round, and let's not forget the kind of brutal finality of drag racing, Steve. There's no second chance. You got 1,320 feet to do it. If not, you're out. And we've got 16 cars in this first round, down to 8, and then down to one final winner at the end. Okay, we've got Bruce Horner, a plumber out of Bergenfield, New Jersey, up against Jay Meyer of Freeport, Texas. He owns a construction company down there.
Bruce Horner campaigns an aluminum Rodeck engine, very similar to a Chevrolet, qualified at 652. For Jay Meyer, it's the Donovan engine, very similar to the early model Chrysler Hemi. He barely made the cut at a 674, Brock.
So Jay's got to feel very lucky, Steve, because over 30 of these top alcohol dragsters came to Gainesville, and only 16 of them made the cut.
A great wheels-up start by Bruce Horner in the near lane. The far lane, Meyer is all over the racetrack and has to get off the throttle to keep that car right side up. So Bruce Horner in a romp at 6.49 seconds, 208 miles an hour. And we'll be back at Gainesville Raceway in Gainesville, Florida for more Gatornationals.